Okay, hello everybody. We are here with Coach Mike again, and Coach Mike, I love this position of leadership that we're in, and we're new, in new space. And no matter what position of leadership you're in, everyone needs counsel. Everyone needs people to talk with and stuff. So I want people to understand, and our coaches and families to understand that I get a lot in talking with you about just the concepts of leaderships and what we're trying to provide for people as leaders. So I'd like to start, first of all, if we can let people know kind of what is your background, what do you do for a living, and
Yeah.
what it is that you're dealing with, because it's not just, you're not a guy reading the internet and giving me your personal opinion. You got some background. So what
Yeah.
do you do for a living?
So I've been in education for 21 years, and the last 11 years I've been the athletic director at Norte High School in San Diego. I was the first athletic director of that school. It's a new school. We've been open, like I said, 11 years. And we grew from a class of freshmen and sophomores only to now a full class of about 2,600 students. So building the program from the ground up, everything that you see at the school in regards to equipment and uniforms, we had to do that all. Not just myself, but I had a really good team of people surrounding me. I asked them really direct questions. They gave me direct feedback. And, sometimes as leaders, we have to make hard decisions. And that happened over the last 11 years. And I've been reflective upon all the decisions I've made over the last 11 years. And there's some that, I would go back and say, oh, I could have done that a little better. I could have done this a little bit better. Or, yeah, I hit the nail on the head there. But it's just about being a reflective leader, and actually have the focus on what matters. And the student athletes at my school matter. Everything we do has to matter for them.
And you're not in the middle of the pack. So, whether it's your football program or your whole athletic program, right? So you guys have climbed the ranks, and you're a
Yeah.
signature type program, right? And you're proud of
Yeah,
that. So that's
absolutely.
part of your vision. As all coaches, we have visions for our teams, visions for our organizations. And so, taking your program to the top, you have to deal with a lot of things, as all administrators do, right?
Yeah,
Right now, you're in a
absolutely.
lot of talks just about the future. And like, as we talk to our coaches, we have to have conversations about what we think is going to happen, what we predict is going to happen, and strategize, and then deal with whatever reality comes our way.
Right.
And so the first question I'd like to ask you to relay to our coaches is just, what type of leadership advice do you have for firecracker coaches? Just in general, we're all in positions of leadership, but we might not know what to do with it, right? So,
Right.
we volunteered, we stepped forward because our daughters needed a coach, and then here we are, and now you have, Rico or Tim or whoever asking, what are you doing for your team? And
Right.
they're like, what am I supposed to be doing? So what's your advice to our coaches right now, just with leadership in general?
Stay connected. Basically stay connected with your team, with the kids, check in with the student athletes, see how they're doing socially, emotionally. Coaching young women is very different than coaching young men. They have different needs, they have different desires. I always tell our coaches, I have about 200 coaches working for me in 26 different sports at our school. Here's the thing. Female athletes, when they feel good, they're going to play good. Male athletes, they have to play good to feel good, right? So there is a very, difference of that. So when I talk to my coaches, and I'm talking to the firecracker coaches, you have to understand you're dealing with young women, right? They have to feel good. They'll do better when they trust you, right? So you have to build that trust. You have to let them know that you care about them. Know that the relationship you have with them as a person is more important than you have with them as a player. And really focus on that, but also provide them the tools and the opportunity to get better during this time. Just because we're not on the dirt doesn't mean that we can't get better mentally, really studying the game, the softball IQ of the game, but also the physical part. Here are some workouts you can do. Here are some, get on FC on demand, really create that structure for the kids, because, what you are a leader. They look to you for direction, and you say, look, here are some things that I would suggest you do. You communicate with their parents. These are the things that I suggested they do. And what we want to do is build a really strong circle, a ring around them. So now during this time when there is no structure, there is no exact things that are happening, that they have something that they can rely on.
So this is even new space for your coaches. Your coaches, a lot of them
Yes.
have the education that have allowed them
Yeah.
to have a professional coaching job. And
Yeah.
but this is new space for them. So what are your coaches doing to connect with their players? How often, how long, like what types of things are happening and that
So
and
I'll just,
you've taken.
yeah, so I'll just highlight, our basketball coach is doing a great activity. He takes, does Zoom like we all do, but he does it with his freshman team, his JV team, and his varsity team. And what he did, we all knew something was happening. So what he was able to do is go out and buy John Gordon's book, The Energy Bus. He bought it for every single kid, freshman, JV, and varsity. And then what we did was we created like a playbook, like a program, like freshmen. They're in their development. So this is the things that we're going to hit as freshmen. Now, as they move on, this, like, just because the quarantine is going to get over and we're going to get back to normal doesn't mean that we're going to leave this in behind. We're going to still do this kind of stuff. So what we want to do is create a playbook of steps in order for them to be seniors, and when they graduate, to be great ambassadors for us. So they Zoom twice a week, and sometimes they Zoom and they have a theme. Like yesterday was, let's eat cereal together. So we poured a bowl of cereal, a favorite cereal, and we sat and Zoomed and we ate cereal together, and we just talked about, what's going on, how you guys feeling, things like that. And it was just caring, right?
Do you
But
feel like that connected there? Because, to a 55-year-old guy, or like eating cereal with, like, but when you understand that that's a way to connect with them, right? That kind of opens up from their end where they even want to connect with us, right?
That's right. And you know what? It became a game. Like, I'm going to guess what cereal coach is going to have. Is he going to have Wheaties, Special K, whatever the case may be. But here's the thing. I tell coaches all the time, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's about them, right? So you have to get to know your team. And some teams may not, engage in that kind of activity, and you have to do something different. But the focus is not about the activity. It's about how you're connecting with those kids, and those kids. And so that's what I'm encouraging coaches to do in the Firecracker organization. You have to know your team. You can't just show up, be a figurehead, and go through the motions and think they're going to be connected to you. It doesn't work that way.
So for the longest time, so many coaches, listen, our value was writing the lineups, getting the stats, hitting ground balls, doing these things. And so it's an obvious question that I understand with coaches of like, so you mean we have purpose right now? We're not trying to fill the space. I mean, the reality of the purpose of the coach to the young athlete right now, I mean, right now is a great time to create that purpose and fill that space with that relationship, right? I mean, it's absolutely it's almost the opposite of what people were thinking, that we're shut down and we're not doing anything, right?
Right. But you have to be authentic with what you're doing, right? So, kids are going to see right through you, right? So there's organizations out there, Tony, that don't have the tools, right? They don't have these things, right? And guess what? As Firecrackers, we owe it to the industry to help all those kids. Right? Even though we're in a world of competition, we're helping. I will tell you, and we're helping kids, right? So let's focus on it. It's not about you as a coach. It's about you as a coach helping young people, right? Because no matter what, those people are going to have an impression of you by what you see, by how they behave, all that stuff on the field, right? And if all of a sudden somebody looks at one of our coaches and says, look, man, he's a great coach. Why? Look how he talks to the kids, how he teaches, how he mentors. But I'm seeing these kids react to him in such a way, or her in such a way. Man, I want to be a part of that, right? So you have to do it in an authentic way. I coach the way I coach. I don't coach the same as somebody else, because that's who I am. That's who you are. But you have to understand who you are. I have 4 very poignant questions that I ask my coaches to be reflected upon before the season, during the season, and after the season. And I'll share these 4 questions. The number 1 question is, why do I coach? Okay, so it's the why. Like, why do I do this? The second question is, why do I coach the way I do? Right? So it asks me to be reflective on my own coaching, right? So does that mean that I was coached this way by so-and-so years down the road, and it connected and resonated with me? And so that's what I replicate that. The third question is, what does it feel like to be coached by me, right? And so remember when I talked about how the girls have to be different from the boys? This is why this question is ultra important to female student athletes and their coaches. What does it feel like to be coached by me? Okay. And the last question is, how do I define success? Okay. And so I know, Coach, you and I talked about this all the time. Some people define success about how many plaques and and trophies they have in a room or on a wall. You know, I don't necessarily agree with that 100%. You know, how I define success, it might be a little bit different. My definition of success is this: in general, when somebody is done with playing the sport, they think about their coach and say, I've learned so much about who I am, my life, and the application of what I'm doing right now from all the time that I spent on the dirt. That's success. Because everything that we're teaching them and all the trials and tribulations, the successes, the ups and downs, all the things that they experience on the dirt is it's transactional to life and is transformational to life. So transaction, oh, I felt this before. Okay, boom, I know what to do, right? I can apply what I've learned. And the transformational is changing a life to be more successful, right? And having young women be confident in what they do. When they go out to the workforce, they're confident in being able to go into the job interview and be able to handle pressure, maybe a pressure as a parent, a pressure as an employee, whatever that is. But we are now pouring all that knowledge into them. So during this time of quarantine, we need to be asking ourselves as coaches these questions. Write down, just take a little note.
What a great opportunity to self-reflect,
right.
as you said. What a great opportunity to get into those questions. And I think that's a good place to kind of wrap this up, that when it's not even that we programmed our young ladies to be confident, they own their confidence. So they walk into a room knowing that, you know what, I have what it takes. Even though I'm scared to death right now, I have what it takes. I have the training. You know, making fear a tool that empowers you and kind of propels you as opposed to stopping you. And so, Mike, that's really important. And I think that image, I want our coaches to picture all of their players in the real world as empowered, self-confident young women, because it's a different type of reward, you know, as far as how we're doing things. And the last thing I would want to mention is that, look, you and I, we got to spend a weekend together in the dugout coaching a select team together, but you and I haven't had a lot of physical time together in the same space. And it's interesting to me that I want coaches to know, like, how a relationship can develop even online. It's really weird because I feel connected. I feel connected with you. I feel connected with everyone that's really plugging in, everyone in the organization. And I want coaches to understand that it doesn't matter what region you're at or in, and it doesn't matter how many miles we are apart, that reach out and connect with other coaches. Because listen, if you own yourself and you have your own self-confidence, that is great. We want to start with that, right? Because what do you offer anybody else? But then when you lock arms with a man or a woman, a person that owns themselves, and the chain gets stronger when we take one step forward together and we take another step forward together. And then we're changing the landscape for the right reasons, you know, to help all people, as you said. It's a very powerful thing, Mike. And so that's what I've really enjoyed most with my time with you. I want coaches to understand that. I want coaches to, I had someone online last night say, don't watch these things once, watch them twice, watch them three times, because I believe that our coaches could listen to your talk 2 or 3 times and then take out something. But I would suggest start with your questions at the end. Start with those 4 questions to kind of ask why you're coaching. And listen, I really want to do a weekly segment with you. I think leadership's important. It's relevant. So I appreciate your time. And then we're going to get back on it next week, and we're going to figure out just another direction to take people. But I really appreciate it, Coach Mike. All right. Stay safe. All right. And we'll talk to you
do the
soon.
same.